Get strong.
So, let's jump into Trigun Stampede. It is based on the manga by Yasuhiro Nighhow.
Wouldn't you call this inspired by the manga, though?
Well, I mean, all the characters are created by, it's like based on real events. They're taking direct inspiration from them.
Yeah,
So,
yeah,
so
but
based,
inspiration
but
is a difference than based because
no, it's the
when you,
same. It's the same concept. It's
yeah,
the same
but what am I?
concept because
But
here's the the characters
let
don't feel
let me
different.
no, no, no. But let me say what I mean. If you have read the Treasure Island in comparison, and you watch the Treasure Planet, the character does feel like it is the book counterpart, but it isn't a replica of the story per se because of the whole new settings, all that jazz. That's what I mean when it comes to inspired. There is the world feels like it is, but it has changed up the story so it feels like another interpretation of it of the world. It's doing their own thing.
Well, I mean, I could still say I feel that you can still say based for the main reason that all the elements of the actual Trigon are there, all of them, and they're not changing the character's essence in the show. They're changing how they tell the story, but all the bare bones stuff is there. Now, if they were telling a completely different story than in the manga, and they were completely changing the characters, then that would not be based on. That would be like very loosely based. I think this still counts for based because Meryl still feels like Meryl from the original Trigun. Vash still feels like the original Vash. Knives, Rem, like all these characters still feel, and I think that's the
And we're
first.
getting Johnny back as Wash, which is just amazing.
So as we go into No Man's Land, which is the premiere, the first episode of Trigun Stampede, I do want to also say that I they really cleaned up the animation. It looks smooth. It pops. I think when they showed the first short, it still felt stiff. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
The animation
The,
felt stiff, and like that's why I think my first impression was like, oh no, CG is gonna feel kind of daunting or stiff or
isn't this
whatever.
from the same people that made Beastars?
Yes, which Beastars in and of itself has a sense of drag to it as well. You know what I mean? Like Beastars does have that sense of dragginess to the animation, which is on purpose and makes sense based on the animal characteristics and and the way the bodies are built. But it has a different filter, a different feel, and it feels a lot more cartoony than I thought it was going to feel. You know how even when you watch like a Pixar film or you watch, it feels computer generated, but it doesn't really feel like an animated film. Does that make sense?
I have barely watched any Pixar films, so I can't speak on
No,
that
but like,
regard.
okay, so you know when you watch a CG movie, or you're playing a video game, or perfect. You know when you play Mario, like the new Mario games on Nintendo,
Yeah,
they feel like a completely different Mario than when you go play Super Mario World in Super Nintendo. Not just because it's meant to be different, it's because the animation makes it feel different, makes it feel like it was a complete different and style and design and art direction. This feels like I'm watching a different colored anime. It doesn't feel like a computer generated anime. Does that make sense? Like
yeah,
the way they design the eyes, the way they design the facial features, how smooth everything feels, and how all the movements feel fluid. It doesn't feel like that. You know what I mean?
yeah. My biggest issue is, and I'm not saying that this looks bad, but I could with some character. characters looks, I couldn't help but think of X Arms, and it took the it took the what it's called, the enjoyment of the show a little bit, but at the same time, at first, but now I just no, it's not X Arm. Just take that out of your head.
Yeah, yeah. My
Do you
biggest,
even
my
know?
big,
Do you even know what X Arm is?
I don't, but I would assume that you're directly referring to Vash's mechanical arm.
There is a show called X Arm based on a manga that is.
No, no, but the look.
I show you the trailer later.
No, no, no. But what I mean is, what made you think about X Arm was the way they designed Vash's mechanical arm. Is what I mean.
No, no.
Then what made you think about that?
Yeah, you can see you see the trailers and then
No,
do
but
that
just
after.
just tell us. Maybe there's a listener out there that knows what you're talking about.
Character designs.
Oh, okay. In general.
Yeah,
Okay.
I might as
Okay.
well show a picture of it.
Okay. So now, so you have an beyond that particular forced reference, so to speak, in the animation to Xrd? Did you feel any particular concerns about the show whatsoever? Like,
No,
what were your initial thoughts? What were your thoughts of Stampede?
I didn't like it. It was just at first it reminds me of X Arms, in
Well,
which you can
that
see a screenshot from here on the screen.
what? But then again, that's how Vash looks in Trigun, though. The character
Yeah,
designs. So
yeah, but did you see something specific with this show? It's how they rendered a 3D character, and also yes, the brother to the left is 2D, while the other one is 3D. So it makes no fucking sense.
okay. Yeah, I didn't know this was an angry concern about the show. but
I'll show you
but
the trailer later. It's the room of animes.
now I did want to ask overall, what were your thoughts on No Man's Land? Oh wait, yes, she was able to make it. Jamie, how are you?
I'm doing well. How are you guys?
I'm glad you were able to make it. Awesome. Welcome to the live stream. So you came just in time. We kind of after a long hiatus of conversation talking about thighs for some reason, out of
Oh.
nowhere, we finally made it to Trigun.
As I spoke to Mike, if since we are not going to see Yor for a couple of months, we're not seeing my Akima for the foreseeable future, I have to go to something else that fits my persona as a pull. So I might as well ask people if it's a good choice to ask 2B to step on them. It just makes sense.
Wow. Wow. Why does everything have to finish and start with stepping? Isaac,
I mean,
do you know
I
nothing
mean,
else?
you can. It's a good way to step up some games, but
Wow. So we're talking about Trigun Stampede, No Man's Land, the first episode. Now we talked a little bit about the animation. Isaac was reminded to X Arm, which apparently is a horrible thing, but he didn't have a lot of issues. I was very surprised with how fluid the animation felt and how clean and how precise with the character expressions it was. And I was pleasantly surprised by it because most of the times where you see CG animation, especially in in most animated films like Pixar, DreamWorks, and stuff like that, everything feels like a computer film. This felt more closer to its anime inspiration than a computer film to me, especially with the use of colors and filters and stuff like that. Even though, of course, there are certain shades and stuff like that you can't really do in CG because of the lighting and stuff like that. But how was your take before we jump into the episode per se? Changes that they made from the original and stuff like that. What were your thoughts, animation wise, for Trigun Stampede?
I thought the animation looked great, to be honest with you. And I know that like a lot of people had issue with like the design of Vash, and I think yeah, just mainly Vash. And I don't know if it changed between then and now, but I actually think like they did a great job of adapting the original design and kind of modernizing it a little bit. I
Yeah,
was really impressed with that
yeah,
element. I was at first very concerned with like the start of the episode was very spacey, and we have like the diagonal haircuts, and I was like, oh
yes,
god, no.
yes.
but but when we come back to
And
present
out of
day, I
nowhere,
guess.
Chris Pratt shows up and it's waking up Jennifer Lawrence. Um,
But when we come back to present day, thankfully, you know, the designs we see the designs that are more similar to the promotional material that we've been seeing. So that was great.
right, right.
And then as far as like just how the animation looked and its fluidity, I thought they did a really great job. And this is like one of the, in my opinion, one of the better looking like 3D, like fully CG, like 3D animes that we have gotten thus far, you know, and that's kind of a big hurdle to have gotten over, considering that
Yes.
there are a lot of ways that it could have gone wrong. So first step, you know, I think they did a good job.
I have to agree with you because I still see from time to time, like that, not from time to time, but like I still am not entirely convinced with like Dragon Ball Z superhero. Like it doesn't look bad, but I'm just not convinced. You know what I
Interesting.
mean? So
Yeah, I
so
can see
like
that.
so this one did convince me. Did you watch the original Trigun?
I did actually. I'm
Cool.
on like the last couple episodes, so I haven't completely finished it, but I did watch most of the original Trigun before watching this.
Okay, so spoilers to anybody watching the show. If you have not seen the original Trigun, we will be spoiling stuff from the original Trigun. Of course, if you hear me start saying something that you're not sure about, let me know, Jamie, because I do not want to spoil it to you. I'll spoil it to everybody, but not to you, because I know you're
Okay.
finishing the series.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
but we will be talking spoilers because one of the biggest things that it's unavoidable with Trigun Stampede is we're going to be going back to the original and see the differences and to see what works and what's not. But overall, I mean, because I think we can all agree that as a pilot goes, this is very this it there's a lot more difference than similarities with the original one.
Hmm.
But not because the pilot is different entirely, because it's technically the same. They just change certain characters, and that changes the way the story develops, which is very interesting.
Yeah.
Now, I do want to ask you a question, Jamie. The whole space thing, did it surprise you because it's the first time you've seen it?
Yeah, it definitely caught me off guard, and at first I was
Okay.
like, did I click the right anime? What's going
Okay.
on?
Okay.
So
So,
yeah, I was caught off guard by it.
okay. So I'm gonna say, finish the anime, finish
Okay.
Trigun, finish Trigun. So, are you guys ready to just jump into the episode? Isaac, you have anything else on the animation?
Just to point out, just because I thought about X Arms for a second doesn't mean it's bad. I got over it and it looks better. Just on the fact that it's competently animated alone.
Yes.
Hmm.
Thank you, Isaac. We know you hate it, but
X Arm is the room of anime, so no, I don't hate it, and no, I actually do enjoy this pilot.
yeah, this pilot was very, very good. I was not expecting it to enjoy it as much as I did. Now, one of the more interesting things that I found was just what Jamie just said. The whole thing about the show starting with the space portion was very interesting because I was not you don't expect them to start with that, especially with what that means to the original Trigun and that's where I'm going to stop. I'm not going to spoil anything because of what
You
that
mean
means.
the Clark Kal-El scene?
Correct.
Yeah, pretty
Correct.
much.
Right. Exactly. Now, um, there's a lot that happens there before the events of what we see. When we learn more about Vash and Knives, because even though I find it interesting they calling him Nye, and that just evolves to Million Knives, which is beautiful. So we never get a chance to see the fall of humanity from the space traveling era. We never saw that before in the original Trigun. So I like the fact that they're taking a lot of things that are known as reveals in the original anime, and they're putting them front and center in the pilot, which I find very interesting. Not only do they put that in the pilot, they literally set up the villain in Million Knives in the pilot, which I don't think the original anime did that. Like, you find out about Vash's brother like almost 10 episodes in. And being that it's a 26 to 27 episode series, that's halfway, if not more. So I find it very interesting that it's like Studio Orange make the decision of, we know what everyone loves or everyone knows about Trigun. Let's take all those common things that everybody knows and let's show them off now, so then we can go off to the races and do whatever we want. Does that make sense? So I feel like they've given themselves this freedom to now do whatever the hell they want with the show. And I was pleasantly surprised with that direction, because now, even though I know the original Trigun, and even though I know that this is not an exact replica adaptation like the original anime was, now I'm excited because I don't know what's going to happen next. What were your thoughts, Jamie? Since you're experiencing Trigun like now for the first time, when you found out that we already know who Knives is from the get go, what was your reaction to that?
Um, I mean, it's definitely like you were saying, like they didn't focus so much on Vash's brother, or really like explore that space. At least in the 97 anime, maybe in other Trigun properties, but to see him like put on the forefront, it's definitely like, for one thing, I know he's going to make a much bigger impact, so I'm looking forward to seeing what that is. But I'm
Yes.
also looking forward to seeing in what way does Knives and how I'm looking forward to seeing like what Knives and Bash's relationship is, or at least how it's developed to become what it is. Um, just because it seems like there is a lot of tension there, especially with the start of this, like remake or like reimagining of this series. So I'm curious to see in what ways he's going to affect Vash's journey for sure.
Yeah. How about you, Isaac?
I think Game is pretty much on point with this episode.
Okay. So, but did you like the changes that they made about presenting all that information up front?
Well, it's clear that they want to be a new story. For heck's sake, where's Millie, for example?
Yeah.
Uh,
That was the biggest one for me. Like, I was not
and she's a
expecting Millie to not
she's
be there.
so she's
Yeah.
a reporter and not someone that works into the what
Insurance
was it
company.
insurance company.
Yeah.
She's essentially Lois Lane now.
Yeah. Which, by the way, the fact that Millie Thompson and Meryl Streep from the original Trigun were insurance agents because they were following Vash because Vash was so much of a liability. That is like the funniest take. It's like that guy. What's that insurance that has commercials with Mr. Mayhem?
Oh, is that? It's not Allstate, is
Is
it?
that State Farm? No.
No, and maybe it is Allstate. Yeah, it might be Allstate.
Yeah, like they have the In Good Hands guy and they got Mr. Mayhem.
Hmm.
I find it funny. Like Vash is doing those episodes, like Vash is doing all those commercials. Um, but yeah, you're right. I mean, they're making all those. They're making very interesting changes. But I like how because Millie, if you see Millie in reality,
Also,
go
doesn't
go.
this isn't hasn't they done made her younger also? In,
No, Meryl's always been 20 something. Meryl's always
Yeah,
been
I
20
looked it
something.
up actually because I was like, "Oh, is that important before?" Because I didn't really make a note of
yeah.
it. But in the original anime, it starts with Meryl celebrating her like 23rd birthday or something, and then she meets Vash. And
Yeah,
then in this one, you see on a paper that it also says she's 23 in the remake.
Okay.
yeah,
Because she comes off as like 18 here in comparison.
Yeah, I thought she was much younger than 23 when I first saw her, not
yeah,
gonna lie.
yeah. And also because of the type of animation, she looks chibier, like a
Hmm.
chibi. She looks a
Yeah.
lot younger because of the design too. They made her shorter and a little bit wider, and just her expressions. She has a lot more a lot of. She kind of has a lot of Millie's playful like qualities also
Mm.
because Meryl's always been like not stuck up, but always been the more serious one, no matter what. But
Yeah.
a lot of the designs when she like gets all like upset and stuff like that remind me a lot of Millie. Which again, it's a very interesting omission, right? There's no Millie, but when you think about it, I'm upset because I was expecting her to be there, but I'm not upset because when I think about Millie in the original Trigun anime, she doesn't really have that huge of a role. Like she's just there to be a foil for Meryl more than anything.
Yeah.
And like and there's not really a like in what episode are you right now?
I think 23.
Okay. So the big thing with Millie is that she's just there to create dynamic between Meryl and Millie, but also between Wolfwood, Millie and Meryl and Vash, right? She's a good
Hmm.
addition to that quadruple threat of characters. But she really doesn't have a lot of interestingness that she brings to the table apart from being like somewhat of a cute character, right?
Yeah.
So I found it very interesting and daring the introduction of this new character called Roberto De Niro. He's called Robert De Niro. I just looked up his whole name. This is hilarious because he kind of looks like Robert De Niro. But I like how this particular character is kind of this old man reporter that has been in no man's land, which by the way is the name of the planet, which I don't think we were ever given the name of a planet before.
No, yeah, I never heard that
We
before.
never we so I like the sense of locale and place. So, but like he's been doing this for a while. He's the one that's been beaten by this world, by crime, by all the tragedies that have occurred. And like he's trying to kind of show Meryl the ropes because he has no choice. But I like how he's that wise old fox that kind of gives her the tips of survival, and I kind of like that dynamic. I like the combination of old reporter with new reporter, and then of course the ultimate news item, which is Vash. So I kind of
Hmm.
like that change in dynamic, and I can't wait to see how it develops and grows. Because, for example, from the get go, we see him as this drunk, stupid person, but then you can see the experience right away when he's talking to those officers, and whenever the duel starts, and he literally is generally trying to keep Meryl safe.
Yeah. I definitely I wasn't too sad that Millie wasn't going to be in the remake, only because like you said, she doesn't really make the biggest impact on the plot or other characters. And even though I like Millie, I can see why they decided not to bring her back, at least not for however many episodes, if that's supposed to be a reveal.
Right.
But I do like Roberto. I do like his contribution, and the fact that he plays uh a much more meaningful role than Millie would have by acting kind of as a
Yes.
mentor and kind of the one to keep his head on his shoulders and kind of stay cool when things are going down. And Meryl has, like you were saying, adopted some of Millie's character traits and is a little bit more energetic, maybe a little bit more sporadic, and kind of really embodying that young like rookie attitude.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on Robert De Niro, Isaac?
Stereotypical drunken veteran, but he fits within the context and tone of the story.
True. True. I like the addition of him, and I also do like the idea of, because you know that when we first meet Vash, when we first meet Bash, one of the things that we find out is that everybody doesn't, nobody knows who he is, but everybody fears the idea of the humanoid typhoon, right?
Mm,
I found it very interesting that the first town that we go in the very first episode is a town that knows him and knows him not to be a typhoon. I found that to be a very another interesting twist, because it's not till we see him traveling throughout the land with Millie and Meryl in the original series that his deeds start showing to people. He doesn't, like, you don't really meet people that know him to be a savior or a hero.
right.
Like, that takes a while. So it makes you think, like, and it kind of throws hints at you, like, oh no, he saved us a couple of years ago. But at the same time, well, how long ago was that? Because Vash looks young.
Right.
Which again is another particular twist of Trigun, which those that have watched the original anime know what we're talking about. But it's a very interesting twist to that introduction of that character, and I don't know. It makes it a lot more interesting. What I wasn't expecting the show to do is to make me a lot more interested into Trigun than what I already was, and I think that's why I'm excited to talk about it. Because it left me with a lot of good, cool questions, as opposed to me just wondering why it had to be done. And also, the first, at least they won the first thing. I wasn't bothered by the animation at all, because if I was bothered by the animation, I wouldn't watch it. So they won me over on that. They've winning me over everywhere. Okay, I'm an easy date. I know. Now, Isaac, do you have anything else on this episode?
Nothing more than it is a solid start.
Yes. How about you, Jamie? Anything else on Trigun Stampede that you want to throw out there?
No, yeah, I agree with Isaac. I think it was a really good place to start the series, and I'm looking forward to what they're gonna do with, like, knives and Vash and balancing that equation, and Meryl learning more about Vash as they go. I'm curious to see what he's already done that we will learn about with Meryl and Roberto.
Yes. And I also want to know is, does Roberto know Vash? Because he says he doesn't know him.
Mm,
But he's been reported for so long. Does he or does he not know Vash? Or maybe he
mm,
knows him and he doesn't know. Because
that'll be
that's an interesting
interesting.
thing.
Yeah.
Now, the one thing that did startle me a little bit, that I kind of didn't like, but it did startle me a little bit. That's the only gripe I have. That from the moment we meet Vash, we know he has a mechanical arm.
Mm,
That's the only thing that kind of threw me off. Because that was like one of the coolest reveals in like the third episode of the original one. Right? Because we never knew that he had a mechanical arm until he reveals the machine gun that he has behind it.
I
yeah.
mean, at the same to some extent, I get what you're saying, but at the same time, this is when did the original came out?
97, I think it was.
Yeah,
Yeah,
97.
and I know it's not verbatim the same thing, but for example, look at I can't recall exactly what interview it was, but have you guys played a remake of the first part of Final Fantasy VII remake?
Yeah, I'm actually playing that right now.
Yeah.
I played
They
the full game though, so there's no spoilers. I'm good.
Yeah, me
The
too.
reason I say that they changed up the approach of Sephiroth in that game because in the original they wanted to build him up like Yas, which was the inspiration for him as a villain. But now, since people knew Sephiroth, they felt that it wouldn't work in a remake. And I could see them here that people know that he has his mechanical arms. We don't need to build that up, sort of deal.
Mm.
That's what I mean by verbatim. It's not the same thing, but I know you get what I mean.
Yeah, and I can kind of see I think there have been other forms of media that have kind of done like if they're doing a remake or like a reinterpretation of a previous property. I feel like within the past few years when they do that, anything that was like a reveal, but it happened early on, like, usually they'll just do it at the beginning because they already know, like, most people who have seen this before, they know what's going to happen, so might as well just put it out there so that way they're not, like, trying to hype themselves up for the same thing and instead can look forward to, like, what we have to reveal instead. So I'm not completely surprised by it. It didn't bother me either. I thought it was interesting, and, I guess I'm more curious to see, like, what the story is behind it in this show or this iteration.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. Part of me wants like to get like a part of me wants to get like a nod to Millie in some way,
Mhm.
right? Maybe she does something in one of the towns that they visit, right? And part of me wants him to get the arm with the machine gun as a power up throughout. Like if they do
Mm.
that, I'm okay with that. If not, that will always be a gripe. That's personal. I know. I'll take the hit. If they keep if they keep me interested with all the different changes that they had. I do love that it's still playful Vash. I love that he
Yeah.
still feels like Vash. I love that all the characters still feel like the original feel. You know what I mean? Because I've always been a defender of a character's essence, right? Like if you keep a character's essence intact, you can take that character and start a brand new series with him, and we're still gonna enjoy it because the character's still the same, or at least
Mhm.
what makes that character work is still there. So I'm really happy that all that's happening, and I'm excited for more Trigun.
Yeah.
Okay, guys, we've talked Trigun Stampede episode 1, No Man's Land. If you guys love our coverage of Trigun Stampede and want us to keep covering it, let us know in the comments below, and we'll give you more Trigun because I'm definitely going to keep watching it, and hopefully you guys keep enjoying it as well at home. We will see you on the next episode. Have it awesome.